Okay, shall we do roll call?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, Dana Syvertson,
Here.
Keith Hahn,
Here.
John Comish,
Here.
Seth Marcus,
Here.
Bill Moskell. We are missing Ed. Agnes will be absent. We have a quorum.
Okay, let's get started. I'd like a motion to approve the minutes of the meeting of August 11th.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
I second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, it's approved unanimously. Let's go on to old business. Volunteer work days. It has been absolutely amazing. We've had a just complete crazy turnout for everything. We had 17 for seed collection the first time, 20 the second time, 20 plus for the work day. So it's great, really terrific. As of this point in time, over the course of this year, we are now currently at 2,261 volunteer hours that we've logged in, and it's beginning of September. I had 481 of those hours have been over at the Pollinator Park at the Shoreline Restoration. These do not include the interns. And 110 hours have gone into the Boardwalk project. So the next volunteer workday will be at the slough. I think some of you may have heard that Felix, the Eagle Scout who did the Boardwalk project, is involved with SOS, Service Over Self at Hersey High School. And he is trying to put together a program for the 18th, which is our next workday, and is hoping to draw at least 30 volunteers. The task at that time will be to plant into the newly reclaimed cattail sections that Agnes has cleared away, probably another at least quarter to a third of an acre of cattails with Seth's help and Jill's. And so those areas would be designated to plant in roughly 3,000 plugs. So that's the next workday. We have.
Can I ask a question on location of work days?
Yeah.
It seems like we spent, the majority of our work days either at the slough or Hillcrest Lake, and not a lot at the other sites. Are we missing anything out there? Is anything falling through the cracks?
Well, I had a conversation with Seth about this today, and Agnes and I spoke about this last night, that in some respects, yes, we are, because we have these two major projects for the summer. One being the shoreline restoration, which is it's like 30 feet more than the pilot was. And the other one is the closing out the Boardwalk grant, which has to be done. All the work on that grant has to be done on December 31st. So those two events have really sucked up all the time. And as a result, I think maintenance has gone by the wayside a little bit. And so we're clearly behind on that. Peter's, when we get to that point in the meeting, Peter will talk about what's going on over in Rava. I know Seth and I have some ideas here, and I'll let Seth present those. But yes, the good news is that we are basically done with the shoreline restoration. There's nothing left to do but water there, and water. And this will be the last, this Sunday, not this Sunday, but the 18th, will be the last of the work days dedicated to the Boardwalk. So at that point, I think the focus becomes totally going back to the secondary and tertiary sites and really putting in the time over there where it's actually needed. Does that make sense?
No, it makes perfect sense. I know it's, we've had these, like you said, these big projects and some deadlines to contend with. I just want to make sure that our public stands that we're not neglecting the other areas intentionally. It's just because we're under these deadlines and things. And
Right.
so I just don't want it to be perceived that there's any favorite sites or something like that.
Yeah, there's certainly not a case of a favorite site. I mean, they're all,
Yeah,
it's absolutely all equally important. So,
Right.
any questions, comments about volunteer days?
And when you mentioned about the completion of the shoreline restoration project, that means just for this year because that's a 4-year project.
It's a 6-year project, and this is the first year, so there's 5 more years left, and all the rest of the remaining sections are smaller. This was absolutely the biggest one we had. So, yes. Okay, let's move on then to the public library and Park District events. Want to tell everybody we did receive a $250 donation from the Park District for our participation in the nature camp, and we thank them, and it was a nice gesture on their part. So we appreciate that. Nature Speaks, we have our next speaker after the Kill Your Lawn talk, and that's Kevin Griebenow, who is a friend of John's, but he's also a hydrologist specializing in dams and worked exclusively with the Army Corps of Engineers and has quite an extensive resume. He's going to talk about watershed and has quite a robust program to present. So we're very happy to add him. And then probably we'll follow up with the beekeeper for the 3rd slot, which would be in the spring of 2023.
When is that?
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Can't hear you, Ed.
When is Kevin?
Can't hear you.
All right, I'll follow up with you, Ed, on email because I need to give you the PR info to hand off.
You can type it in.
Okay. The fall bird walks are September 17th, which is the kickoff event for Prairie Week. The second one is October 8th. We've aligned the spring dates. The spring is May 13th and May 24th. And Mary Lou has agreed to do, this will be, I think, her 9th season with us. So that's all there is to report there. Any questions?
No.
Okay, moving on, District 214, the Buffalo Grove Prairie update. We are going to be meeting with the students and Rich, the faculty advisor, sometime next week, and going over what the next steps are. We look forward to working with them and moving forward.
If all is theoretically, Agnes and I are going there tomorrow morning.
Yes,
In theory.
hopefully she's up for it.
Yeah.
If you can hear me now, I was just wondering when Kevin's presentation is for Nature Speak.
Kevin's presentation is, hold on, I can tell you. It's October, I believe, 21st. I'm sorry. No, that October 20th is Dan's. Kevin's,
January, isn't it in January?
yes, January 26th, a Thursday. Sorry, Ed. MacArthur Middle School Prairie update. Agnes met with, Agnes and I both met with the principal and the faculty advisor, and I believe we spoke to that last time out, and the project has been tentatively approved, and so there's another meeting coming up to them with them to decide what the next steps are. So at the point that that's scheduled, I'll let everybody know if anybody wants to attend. We'll take it from there. Otherwise, they've decided to go forward with the wet prairie, which is right in between all the schools there. So the idea there is that it's a live living classroom. So education, is going to be formatted to being out there working with the plants, pollinators, insects, birds, everything. It's a win-win. Wheeling High School update. I'll leave that to Seth to update since he just had a big day with him.
About maybe 2 weeks ago, Agnes and I went out to Wheeling High School and we gave sort of what's become our regular introductory lecture, talking about what we do and just about nature restoration work. Then just recently, the same class came out to our sites. We gave them a tour of the site of the slough. And then step 3, it sort of is following a nice path. Step 3 is we're going to go back to the school and put in the prairie at their school, or work with them to do that. So it's nice with the what we do. Then they see it hands-on. Then they do it at their own place. It seems to be going quite well. Well received by the students, well received by the teacher, and there was an administrator came out at this last visit and seemed to be impressed as well.
Yeah, it's a shout out to Agnes and Seth for taking that task on. It's their energy and their perseverance that they put into this is really great. Also, on September 1st, Seth gave a presentation to the Garden Club, which went swimmingly well. And they made a donation to the NRC of $75. So that was very nice. Thank you.
Garden Club.
Prospect Heights Garden Club, right, Seth?
Yep.
Or Arlington Heights. Which one was it?
Prospect Heights.
How did that come about?
They reached out to us and Seth volunteered to do it because he's got more time than we do.
And we've spoken to them before too.
We have, yes. Okay. Any questions about any of that? We'll move on to the Slough Boardwalk project. Again,
Wait, Dan, a question. Seth, when were we contacted by Wheeling High School for you guys to come out to go? Or did you contact them again?
They contacted us towards the beginning of the school year. You know, we've been working with the same teacher now for years, Medea Abad. And so we have this working relationship, like I said, for years. So as the school year started, she contacted us to begin the semester with this module of, we do the introductory lecture, so on and so forth.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Slough Boardwalk project. Okay, the grant has to be finished. Everything that was outlined in the grant needs to be finished by December 31st. We're well on track to do that. Signage is one of the last things to do. We have roughly $2,043 left in the Park District budget to finish that. As I mentioned, this Sunday or next Sunday, the 18th, is the last of the big giant planting days to reclaim land back from the cattails, which has gone incredibly well. If you've been out there, I don't know if anybody's been out there lately, but my gosh, what she's opened up is crazy, just absolutely crazy. So, and the work that the Buffalo Grove Environmental Club did with the 8,000 plugs last year, that all of that has just taken off completely. And when we were at the Grasslands Network workshop, we visited Grassy Lake in Barrington, and that was a 20-year restoration project of a wetland that was in the same condition as this. It was all buckthorn, cattails, Phragmites. That's all there was there. Over the course of 20 years, 2 single volunteers have throttled a change over probably 200 acres of this wetland, and it looks exactly like what has transpired over the course of the first year of this grant. So I can say personally, I think we're really, really right on the right track. The only difference here is they did it slowly using seed, and we're doing it with plugs. So the results are much quicker. And given the nature of the come and go in water in the slough, it turns out the plugs are a much better way to go, because we've seen seed just wash off and go who knows where. So this seems to be a really good solution. But that will wrap up and we'll have a final report that we turn over to Commonwealth Edison on December 31st. Any questions? We've so far on this latest effort to reclaim from the cattails for this year, we've already put in 3,360 plugs. Agnes has another 4,000 ready, and she's hoping to have another 3,000 for the 18th. Again, we're expecting up to 30 kids from Hersey to help with the planting. So, Pollinator Park. The shoreline is a big story there. We've planted in that restoration. We put in 4,087 plugs. This is again, most of those are the Warrior sedges and cordgrass that have gone into the coconut rolls, and then we just recently put in another 1,800 at the last work day. It was incredible. We had 20 people there, and in an hour and a half we were done. I mean, there was nothing left to do. They planted 1,800 plugs. So amazing result. That takes care of that for this year. So there's really nothing else to do except water and whatever falls in the way of maintenance over there in seed collection. So that would be it for Pollinator Park.
I have a question about that, or a statement. So we've planted out from the restored shoreline onto the grass. There was a proposed walkway path there, and so the roadside of that path is not planted. So aren't we going to plant that?
Yes, we will. But it won't. My guess is that it won't take the form of an organized work day, that it would be something that would happen ad hoc, because the work days there's so much maintenance on everything else that's needed. There's that retirement group that meets every once in a while during the day and does work. There's a lot of people.
Well, is the goal to have that planted before the end of the season here?
Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
The other thing I'd like to suggest is that maybe we could recruit the neighbors across the street to do the watering and relieve you from another burden that is pretty time consuming. And I know when we planted the first section, I was able to water that consistently on a daily basis, and it did very well. So maybe the across the street neighbors could do the same or something. We could inquire at least.
Yeah, that's a great idea. Lou has volunteered to help out with that as well. So
good.
I've used his facility to refill the tank a couple of times now. So
okay, good.
Moving on to path maintenance at the work sites, and this sort of overlaps the conversation that Seth and I had earlier. So path maintenance is something that's it's taken a back seat, I think, to everything else that's seemingly so urgent to wrap up. So it's definitely time to try to catch up. I spent quite a good amount of time working on the paths myself. Seth has come over a couple of times and worked on it. Seth had some ideas, and I think maybe this is the best time to talk about that, Seth, if you want to have that conversation.
Sure. Just to add on to that, I think, the public's main contact with some of our sites is through the paths, and many of the paths are needing some upkeep. And as Peter's report pointed out, for example, at Morava, there's definitely some need for upkeep there, as well as some of the other sites. So it's hard to sort of fit everything. We have lots of things we want to do. So I have a proposal, which is that, as you all know, for quite a few years now, at this time of year, we do something called Seed Collection Wednesdays. And they've been tremendously successful. And just in the last 2 weeks, as Dana previously mentioned, we've had a huge turnout. So much so that we sort of, at least 2 weeks ago, we sort of depleted the seeds we wanted to pick pretty early. and people were sort of almost looking for things to do. So my proposal is that in addition to seed collection Wednesdays, at least for a period of time, we have path maintenance Mondays. I would propose that they be at 5:30 in the evening till approximately 7:30. And, again, whoever shows up, shows up. We send out the regular notice that I would request that Dana send out the same notice that we send out, for seed collection Wednesdays, but send it out for, in addition, path maintenance Mondays. And it can be something that we have for a few Mondays in a row and then stop it and then restart it again, let's say in the spring, and maybe we do it a handful of times throughout the year.
And how would you organize the volunteers in maintaining the paths? What tools would they be using?
Well, I was wondering a little bit about our release that people sign. I'm not sure what the release says, but typically path maintenance involves string trimmers. Occasionally it involves lawnmowers. And occasionally when there's a big thing, a big tree fell or something like that, it might involve the battery-powered chainsaw or saws. So it does involve tool use. I don't know how that works in terms of, like I said, our release.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good question. One we need to talk to Joe Wade about, I think. I don't know what the full extent of the liability waiver is. I know there's certainly, I wouldn't hand a saw or a string trimmer to anybody.
Well, let me ask you a question. I'm just curious. Is there a fundamental difference between us and a volunteer in the sense that we're a volunteer?
Well, technically, I mean, you put it that way, no. Right?
So I think me picking up a string trimmer is just as much liability as the next guy. Is that, I don't know if that's true. I'm just wondering if that's true.
I mean, when you state it like that, yeah, I would say so. But, I'd hate to pigeonhole us into a place where we can't do any work, because
that's why I'm saying maybe we already have, maybe we know what we already know what we know, and we're using string trimmers.
Well, certainly with chainsaws, there are only a few people that are going to use a chainsaw. One is Agnes, one is Chainsaw Lewis, Seth on a ad hoc basis, John, of course. But basically, I mean, first of all, we're not going to give a power tool to just anybody who shows up and volunteers. Most of those people we would look at, and again, it's like, be careful what you ask for. If we had 35 people show up for a Monday to do path maintenance, and only 3 people can use power tools, there's going to be a lot of frustrated people, and you're going to burn a lot of volunteer collateral that would be unfortunate. So I think,
can't we combine maybe like on seed collections Wednesday, if there's 20, 25 people who show up, why don't we just do some path maintenance on the same night?
At the same place?
There's a couple of reasons why that might be a difficulty. One is that usually the places where we're collecting seeds are not the places that necessarily have paths. So for example, often we're collecting seeds from the remnant sedge meadow or the remnant prairie. This past one was at Pollinator Park, where there really wasn't path maintenance to be done at the time. So that's one thing. The other thing is that I don't want to speak for other people, but my guess is that Agnes would want seed collection when there's the seed collection day. So I don't think we should.
I know, but if there's more people than there is seed, I mean, you said yourself, it's a waste of resources.
Well, that was I think early season phenomena. I think now that there's more and more seeds, I don't think that's going to be a repeated issue. And if it turns out that we add on Mondays, and only 5 people show up, that's 5 more than were there the previous Monday. And I think it's starting to, the way to chip away at the problem of not having maintained paths. If 10 people showed up, there are other things that can be done. Certainly you can use hedge trimmers. You can use, I still have at my house, the ones with the handles, and you cut using your cut the stuff. because a lot of this stuff is not just sort of on the ground, but it's up on the sides, and you can just take clippers and clip them down. Is another part of path maintenance, and another big, a fair number of our paths are just lawnmower. At Heron Pond, it's lawnmower. At the east side of the slough, it's lawnmower. A fair number of places we just need somebody to push a lawnmower. So there are things that people can do without having to, lift up some sort of power tool.
Yeah.
Also, if I could add to your question, Seth, as appointed commissioners or approved commissioners, there actually might be some type of indemnification that we do have as quasi-city officials, or whatever, just as commissioners. But that's a good question to ask Joe for clarification. We probably should still, pursue that just to find out, so that we don't find out later that there was some issue. Have they ever reviewed our waiver? Has that been done already?
The waiver was actually written by the Park District, and it's been used ubiquitously across city and Park District website or platforms. So I know at one point Christina had it reviewed and it was deemed okay. Not sure whether Joe did or not, but can't hurt. If it needs modified, then it needs modified. But again, I go back and restate, under any circumstances, we're not going to give an inexperienced volunteer a power tool. Power tools are basically used within the commissioners or people that are trusted, that have proven track records of knowledge and experience with the tool. So it's always been the guiding light, and it's always going to remain that way. I wouldn't be opposed to trying 1 or 2 Mondays and see what happens. I think the other thing that Seth and I talked about was maybe we try an additional Sunday workday in between the regular workdays, and it's just a path maintenance Sunday, and so it's on a more organized basis and not quite so ad hoc. There might be more people there with more oversight. So maybe we do one site in the morning and our first half, and then go to another one the second half. So it's not like, if you got 20 people, you're not gonna be there all day at Morava, for instance. So, but I certainly wouldn't be opposed to that either. Seth, we just discussed the alternative, which is a Sunday workday, an additional Sunday workday.
Yeah, I was listening.
Okay, all right. So I don't know. What do you guys think? Should we try something?
I think we should try
Let me just say one more thing. The reason we're bringing this up is that it has been pointed out, as John pointed out earlier in this meeting, and as Peter's report pointed out in his report, and as my report pointed out the last time I gave the report, is that there are sites that need work. And I, for one, am willing and able, but it seems like it makes sense to see if we can make this an organized and more productive and efficient process. So, but think it's not as if we can say, yeah, let's do this, or yeah, let's not do this. Not doing it is not a choice. It has to be done. It's just a question of how are we going to do it?
What do you think about sending out, let's say we try a Monday workday, and sending out a limited email as opposed to the entire 460 people that are on the email database?
Well, why would you want to limit it? I mean, there conceivably could be someone who may not volunteer, or hasn't volunteered, or may not volunteer often because those days just don't work, and Mondays may work for that person.
That's a good point. Well, what do you guys think? You want to try one?
And try one and see how it turns, what the feedback is, and then and then we move on. I mean, nothing's cut in stone here, and and that's fine. I agree with Ed saying, there's a lot of these days, that just don't work for me. And, maybe a Monday would. I don't know, but yeah, let's just give it a try, and then we'll see how it works.
Okay.
There's no harm in that.
You want to try
Are you going
something? Go ahead,
Are you
Joe.
are you still going to have the form reviewed by Joe Wade?
Yeah, we can ask Joe to take a look, have him look at it again, but I don't. Yeah, sure. September or October? When do you want to start? As soon as possible.
Next Monday.
Yeah.
Yeah, Monday the 12th.
All right. Monday the 12th. 5:30.
Yep.
Which place?
The Nature Preserve at Morava.
Is there a tree that needs to get out of the way though first? If I remember from Peter's report, there's a significant block.
That tree is pretty large. I mean, it fell lengthways down the path. So you're really limited in your access to the brush pile. It should come out as soon as possible, but you really want to be careful. There's a few oaks in there that just barely got missed by the tree. So people have to be careful, especially if they're going to bring any large equipment in there. So yeah, I would think we could tackle that. I mean, you need a lot of people to haul the branches out of there. It would be a good place to start.
Well, I sent Dino an email this evening and asked him if it's something that Park District could take care of. So he's very good about getting back to you. So probably first thing tomorrow morning, I'll have an answer on that. So.
And then Peter, do you see a way to maybe protect those visibly, cordon off those trees, or is it obvious?
Yeah, they're not obvious. There's one oak that I planted like 6 years ago. I mean, if you don't know what it is, you're just gonna either cut it or trample it. You really don't want any vehicles going in there, tractors, bobcats, because they're just gonna tear it up. That's what I think.
Well, hang on. We're talking on a whole nother level here. Is from path maintenance. Now we're talking about machinery. So, this seems like a bigger project, maybe for the city or the Park District, or.
It's a big tree, John. A handful of our volunteers with a couple people with chainsaws could do wonders in there.
Okay.
But a city or a Park District crew going in there with vehicles or tractors, bobcats, whatever, I feel they're going to, kind of trash the place.
Understood.
Can you give me an idea in terms of size? Like, a couple of our members own chainsaws that a typical homeowner size might have. Is this tree, a typical homeowner's chainsaw can handle this tree?
The trunk is probably 1.5 feet, 2 feet in diameter. There's some big logs. Fortunately, it fell right on the path, so it's easily accessible. A lot of the smaller stuff is can be taken care of. But yeah, regular homeowner, I think, 14, 16-inch chainsaw, but got to be careful. The operator.
Well, I got a chainsaw that can handle that, and I know there's a couple other ones out there, and people know how to operate them. So,
let's see what Dino says first, and then we'll craft a plan. Okay. All right, let's move on. The greenhouse seed program, seed collection Wednesdays are on. We've had 2 great turnouts. The greenhouse program is basically over for the year. There's very little, if anything, left to transplant. things are being positioned and organized, ready to go out. That's about it. We've just distributed roughly 8,900 of the plugs out of the 40,000 we grew. So we're closing in on a quarter of the inventory. I know Agnes would probably have more to say if she was here, but she's not. So any questions I might be able to ask or answer if you have any. Okay. Illinois Prairie Week, the schedule's set. The notice is going to go out on Monday. I think everybody knows the program unless anybody needs an update. The calendar on the website has been updated. So if you go to PHNRC and go to the calendar, everything that's in Illinois Prairie Week is on the calendar already, as well as the speakers. So moving on to the prescribed burn, the permit has been granted. It was mailed last Friday, so it may actually be at City Hall at this point. So everything we put in was approved and off to another year of burning. Any questions about any old business? Okay, moving on to new business. Poplar Creek Prairie Stewards Seed Collection Days. As you know, in exchange for us growing plants for them, they allow us to come out and collect seed out there. Those days, Agnes has got scheduled, but I have no idea what they are, so I'm at a loss to tell you what they are. I'll have her send out an email and reference those dates. That's something we definitely want to open up to volunteers. It's a unique experience to go there and do that, but it also helps with our ability to get more seed. So, no questions?
No.
All right, annual Volunteer Appreciation Day. November is right around the corner. The date I proposed was November 27th.
That's the Sunday after Thanksgiving. We usually do it the Sunday before, but last year we did it on a Saturday. And we did it outside.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, if we have the same sort of volume of turnout that was at the Labor Day party, we'll be hard pressed to put that into the garage. I think at some point, maybe we talk to Public Works about using their hangar for an afternoon and doing it over there. So it just depends on how turnout for seed collection goes for the rest of the year, I think. But anybody have any comments about the 27th being the Volunteer Appreciation Day?
I would agree with Jill. Doing it on the Sunday right after Thanksgiving, I don't think is optimal. People often are still hanging out with family and stuff.
Okay. So you want to move it to the 13th, which is the regular
Saturday.
workday.
Okay.
That's the regular workday, the 13th.
That's not too early for the processing, is it?
Maybe a little bit, but I don't know how much more seed you're going to collect between in the course of a week that it would really affect it, right?
Okay.
We could do it on Saturday the 19th. More people could probably attend a Saturday than a Sunday, so that's.
I'm game for either day.
Any opinions? Anybody see a calendar?
How about Saturday the 19th?
It's fine with me.
What time of day or do we do these? I forgot.
9.
9 a.m.
Yeah, 9 to 12.
That seems reasonable.
We could do it later too. We could start at 10 and go to 1 or something. Whatever makes most
And
sense.
we should be, the volunteer of the year, I already have someone in mind. We could start emailing Dana and Agnes with our who's going to get the golden loppers this year.
Dana, one of our esteemed commissioners, our leader, often works on Saturdays. Is that a problem?
No, shouldn't be that far in advance. It should be okay because it's enough notice that she can schedule it.
Great.
All right, so we'll propose the 19th as the volunteer appreciation work day.
Dana, how do you feel about sending an email to our dedicated volunteers and asking them if they had a preference on the date, that our workday the 13th or Saturday the 19th? How do you feel about that?
Sure.
You're going to get a ton.
Yeah.
I don't think that's a good idea. I just think you're going to get a ton of feedback, and there's going to be a lot of conflict, and we're going to ultimately end up making the decision anyway. I think it's better if we assign a day.
As far as availability, that's all. So,
Well, why, is there a reason we're omitting, say, November 20th, the Sunday, where that would not be any conflict with Agnes's practice at all? It's not a work day, so it wouldn't conflict with the regular work.
Well, I mean, is it too close to Thanksgiving? I don't know.
And Saturday's not?
Yeah. I hear you. I mean, whatever you guys think.
I mean, I'm just putting it out there so they're doesn't require somebody to have to, a key person to have to even take a day off, because I'm sure it can be done, but it probably still impacts her. And if there's no other reason, if it's Sunday and not a regular work day, maybe make it a little bit later if somebody would normally be going, say, to church that morning.
All right, how about if I ask Agnes if we go with Saturday the 19th or Sunday the 20th, and maybe start at 10:30 or 11?
There you go. She may want a Saturday off. Who knows?
All right, I'll ask. Let's make a note here real quick. Okay, moving on. Treasurer report, John.
Hi, everybody. I sent everybody the report. I'm trying to pull it up on my screen and I can't for some reason. Hang on. Anyway, I hope everybody had a look at it. Are there any questions? It's pretty straightforward. I apologize, I can't pull it up. Any questions about the budget?
Not at this point.
All right, we'll move on.
Okay, the Commissioner site monitoring reports. I'll go ahead. Go ahead.
Sorry, I'm missing a few. ComEd Cedar Prairie, Blue Remnant Prairie, but we do have reports on the Nature Preserve and the other sites, so we're good on that.
Okay, I mean, I'll give you my very brief report on the prairie. It's overrun with goldenrod of all different species, just like everywhere. The path is a little bit closed down right now. It needs a vertical trim, but other than that, it's having a banner year. A lot of the Canada goldenrod that we clipped 2 years ago has been replaced by the grassleaf goldenrod, which is really encouraging to see. One of the guys from the Grassland Restoration Network was saying that they have taken to herbiciding the Canada goldenrod in order to control it. And there's also the possibility of planting a parasitic plant called a dodder, and as a means to control it. So we're looking at both of those things, but it's definitely overrun with goldenrod. Otherwise, we're in good shape.
You know, if I can just add one thing about the South Slough, boy, those aquatic plants really took this year. I mean, they just really filled in. I think not having to compete with the carp spawning has helped tremendously, but it looks impressive.
Especially when
Well,
in
they
bloom.
competed heavily with carp spawning this year. Their carp were all over the place because we didn't get the fences in time. So I was amazed to see that they flourished like they did as well. Maybe it's because they're established now. I don't know, or maybe it was because it was very droughty all summer, and maybe that affected their growth somehow. I don't know, but yeah, they're exploding this year.
Mm-hmm. There's still part of the plan for Pollinator Park is to go over to the slough and dig up a few dozen of those arrowheads and transplant them into the two areas of aquatic planting at the new shoreline restoration. So at some point, we're gonna strap on the waders and go do that. So, okay. Any other site reports, Peter? You had quite the report there.
Yeah, no, I'm good. It's just, I understand, we've got priorities with the other sites. It's a shame though to, the nature preserve is really kind of unique, and it takes a lot of maintenance, for a nature preserve, even being a small preserve. But I understand. We just have our priorities, and this coming the 12th, we'll have a whack at it. See what happens.
Well, I know if Agnes was here, she was going to propose it in terms of next year's work events. That the only thing that's really sizable on the docket, because we have no other grants, is the section of shoreline restoration, which John, I think, is in the north corner there. It's one of the smallest ones. So there's really no big projects. And so she's thinking that next year is dedicated to maintenance and getting everything back, on track. So I don't see a problem with that.
I'd hate to see it run out of control though, and then you got to start over. You know what I mean? It's there's no way we can fit these other sites in.
What, this year? Yeah, I mean that's the rest of this year, for sure. I mean the focus now shifts to maintenance on all the sites because we're done with these big projects after this planting on the 18th.
Yeah.
So whatever we can get done this year, but certainly next year, the plan would be to focus on maintenance. Okay. Civic reports. Jill? Jill?
Oh, I'm
Civic-
sorry, I didn't. I'm
Civic
sorry.
reports.
I'll make it quick. The Arlington Countryside Stormwater Project, as reported recently by Mark Roscoe, is operating on schedule and looking for completion date of mid to late September. The property, 214 Wheeling Road, which is next to Tully Park, an intergovernmental agreement with the city will be developed soon, and demolition of the property is proposed to begin the spring of 2023. And the Park District will start their budget project with a presentation at their December 13th board meeting.
Okay. Anything else? Okay, announcements to the public. Okay, we don't have any visitors, so I may ask for a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, good night all.